and happy Menopause Monday. Today I am going to be talking about the menopause and also just defining who you are and where you are at now in your life. As a psychotherapist, I'm also an online health and fitness coach, but I get a lot of ladies in particular coming into my office with issues that they think are mentally related. You know, they might be struggling with what they perceive as their mental health because they're not able to control their anger bursts or outbursts. Some even come in thinking they've got early dementia or Alzheimer's because of their forgetfulness. And others are coming in to me with relational difficulties because of the changes that the menopause naturally makes occur in a woman's body. And quite often they've already been to their GP, who has suggested they're going to put them on antidepressants. And these people are not depressed. They do not have a mental health disorder. They are going through the menopause. But there are so many doctors out there who will put you on antidepressants because it sort of smooths out the vagaries of our up and down hormones. But you're not depressed. Antidepressants come with a whole host of side effects. You've then got to get off them at some point. And it's like putting a sticky plaster on an artery that you've just pierced. It's not actually getting to the source of the issue. And so the whole point of today's live was to give you a few pointers to things that you can do to help you with your sort of your journey through the menopause. And just, a few very easy and concrete tips to, give you some help. But, people say, I get also some ladies coming in and I mention the menopause to them. They give me their symptoms and some of them think they're going out of their mind. They've got relationship disorders. They like I just mentioned, think they might be having Alzheimer's or mental health problems because of their forgetfulness. They might think they've got a thyroid problem because they can't lose weight. They keep exercising and nothing's working. They are getting sugar cravings. They are irritable with their kids. Their life is just sort of in so much flux and turmoil. And I think as women, we spend an awful lot of time feeling guilty. We are the nurturers. We are the emotional caregivers on the whole. And I think, you might have this angry outburst, but you really regret it afterwards. You feel plagued with grief and weight, and then then it makes you even more cross with yourself and more frustrated, and it's very easy to get stuck in this rut. So I'm just going to sort of explain to you that this is a completely normal thing that's happening to us, but there are ways that we can help to support our health. Our hormones are incredibly important. The whole reason that we are either male or female is down to hormones. We all have them. And as we go through the menopause, our hormones start to fall off. Our estrogen lowers, our progesterone lowers, and also women, we do create, our ovaries help produce testosterone too, not in such a large amount as men, but we do produce testosterone. And that can also result in a falling libido, which then can lead to various intimacy issues in a relationship. And I think unless you have a really open relationship with your other half and you've had a very healthy sex life up until that point, it can be really hard to talk about because often you don't even understand what's happening. So how on earth can you then try and explain that to your other half, who might already be feeling like a wounded soldier because he thinks you're going off him? So I just want to sort of address a few things like that. I had a lady come into me a little while for relationship difficulties. She'd been to see her doctor, and the doctor had suggested that because she wasn't sleeping very well, she's very tired, she was feeling very anxious, a lot of feelings of anxiety and overwhelm, sort of just flooding her without any warning at all, and obviously having a few problems with her relationship, the intimacy that she was having with her husband. and he suggested that she go on to antidepressants, but she didn't. She just felt that wasn't the right thing for her. The doctor also suggested they go for marriage guidance counselling. So she phoned me up. She said, "I don't know what's going wrong with my body. I don't know. I don't even recognize the woman that I am nowadays. Is there anything that you can give me or do to me to help me? Can I treat a lot of sleep disorders with hypnosis and therapy." She was asking me all sorts of different things. I said, "Well, come on in and let's have a chat about it and see. I can take a full history of where she's at, and we can put together a plan, and we can see." I always offer my clients a free consultation, because I think it's really important. If you're working with somebody on a psychotherapeutic basis, you've got to have that level of rapport. So whether I do it over the phone or whether they come and see me face to face, everybody has a free consultation. So she came in for her consultation, we were chatting, and she was just explaining things to me, which just made me think she's either edging towards adrenal fatigue because of some of the symptoms she was saying, or she's menopausal. And I said to her, I said, where are you at with your stage? Have you finished your periods? Do you get hot flashes or flushes and things like that? And she was saying, she said, "Oh yes, I finished with those, and it's not menopausal because I don't have periods anymore. I don't have hot flashes anymore." But everything else she was saying was suggesting that she probably is. I mean, she's obviously post-menopausal, but she's still going through that chaos of hormones. They still haven't settled down already. And you don't have to have all the symptoms in order for you to still be menopausal. Just out of interest, or just for information's purposes, for me personally, the perimenopause was by far the worst part of going through the menopause, as far as symptoms were concerned, particularly sleep disturbance, hot flashes. I found now I'm postmenopausal, anxiety is something that I really have to work on and be really on top of, and so I do things that help me deal with things that never used to bother me before in the past. It's really frustrating, but it's happening, so I'm taking steps to help manage those, and antidepressants are definitely not part of that remedy. But we have our menopause is literally just one day, and it marks 12 months since the day of your last period. That's it. So you're premenopausal, which means you're not getting any symptoms. You're perimenopausal, which is when your hormones are starting to get a little bit volatile. You have one day of menopause, and then you are postmenopausal thereafter. And we talk about menopause, and I think we conjure up these images of grey-haired older women with lots of wrinkles. There's nothing very vibrant about the term menopause. And in fact, I did a search on Google just before coming on here, and it was quite laughable. There are either women with these expressions of "oh, I'm dying," or they're sweaty, or they just look so stressed, or if you're really lucky, you get an enlarged photograph of the uterus and the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. That's it. There is nothing positive out there as far as imagery goes, and the menopause. So I think, we tend to think it's still something that's really bad, but as if you're a woman and if you live long enough to go through the menopause, it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to all of us. And it's just a matter of navigating it as healthily as we can do. And if you're able to prepare for when it happens, because I've mentioned in a couple of previous live sessions about how our adrenal health is incredibly important to how we manage or don't manage our symptoms of menopause. Because the adrenals back up the job of the ovaries when the ovaries go into retirement. If your adrenal health is good, so you're managing your stress well, you're getting good sleep, you're eating fairly healthy, you're doing exercise, if you've got a fairly healthy life already, your adrenals are going to support your menopause, and you're likely to get through it a lot more easily. If your adrenals are tired, or even worse, if you're in adrenal fatigue, that's when you're going to get the full onslaught of all the symptoms, or many of the symptoms of menopause. So just be aware of that. If you're not there yet, if you feel you're going to perimenopause, you can make changes now which are going to support you so much throughout the menopause and postmenopause. It's incredibly important to make the changes as soon as you can do. And if you're postmenopausal and this is the first time you've listened to me, or the first time you're actually exploring the idea of menopause, you can still make those changes, but the earlier you can make them, the easier it's going to be to navigate menopause without the many of the symptoms that we end up getting. um so yes, this lady had come in, and she felt, so she was stressed, she was overwhelmed, she wasn't sleeping, she was having anger outbursts. Her husband kept telling her that she wasn't listening to him, and it's purely because she had brain fog. She couldn't remember. I I know when my kids are telling me about what they're doing, I get my diary out now because I know I'm not going to remember until I write everything down. I also wondered if I was having early dementia in the early stages of perimenopause. It was awful, and I went through mine quite early. And I really did think perhaps I should book myself in to see the doctor just in case. And it's brain fog. It is purely and simply brain fog. It's not us suddenly becoming dumb. It's not us not listening to people. It's because it's happening up here. We have that confusion. We don't have the full capacity of our memories as when we do when we're not menopausal. It does get better once you get through that phase, but there is a certain time, and it can be quite a few years, where it's just like, what on earth's happening to me? And she found she'd had a really healthy sexual relationship with him, and she'd just lost all her libido had gone. She wasn't interested. And then, she occasionally said that she felt like she really ought to sort of keep him happy and to try and maintain some status quo within their relationship. And it was painful for her because, one of the reasons, or one of the symptoms rather, of menopause is we get vaginal dryness. And so she was going through all this, and every aspect of her life was being touched by her menopausal symptoms. But because her kids have left home, she's of that age now where ideally she wants to find some sort of satisfaction in life for her. She's raised the children, she'd kind of raised a husband as well. She just wanted some time for herself, and she felt like she was at that moment in her life and her life was falling apart, and she could not understand why this was happening to her. So we pretty much narrowed it down to the fact it's post-menopause, and it's just her hormones she's still, they're still making her life extremely difficult. So and because I get quite a lot of people coming into my office for help with relationships, etc. And the other thing, I mean, this lady was exactly the same. She said, "Oh, yeah, my lady parts, like it's hush hush. It's like, it's taboo. Don't talk about your vagina." And it was just, so many people find it incredibly embarrassing. If women did not have vaginas, none of us would be here. There's some of the funniest names that you get. This is like vajayjay, my lady parts. What was that? Some of the nunny, nunu. Oh my goodness! I mean, they just come. Pearl Hotel. I mean, there are just so many weird names that people give to their vagina. It's just a vagina. It's just a body part of the woman. I don't know why we have such an issue around talking about it. If we can't even say one of our most important body parts, how on earth are we going to get rid of the stigma and the taboo of periods and menopause and everything else that goes along with it? Vaginal dryness is a real issue for so many ladies. And anyway, so we went through various ways she could broach the subject with her husband. She had felt very disempowered when she arrived, and just going over it, and also telling her that she's not alone. This happens to so many ladies. Incontinence too. Pelvic floor health really, really suffers when you're going through the menopause. And again, there are exercises and there are things that you can do to improve your pelvic floor health as well. It's all pretty much interrelated. But when she left, it was like this weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She felt empowered to go and talk to her husband and help him understand. Because also, don't forget, if you are in a same-sex relationship, regardless, your partner, your significant other, if you are struggling and you no longer have a libido, if you no longer even know who you are in your body, if you find intimacy uncomfortable, you need to let that person know. There's a great book by Daniel Coleman called Emotional Intelligence, and it's not specific about the menopause, but it's the first time I'd ever read something that said, we go home and we complain about the boss. We go to work and we complain about our other half. You're not complaining to the right people. You need to be open with each other and have it out with each other. If there's an issue at home, you need to honor your other half and respect them enough in order to be able to address that issue with your other half. If you have an issue with your boss, you've got to do the same. You've got to take that to your boss and have that conversation, because if they don't know you have an issue, how on earth can they be expected to help resolve that? So it can be scary. It can be really scary. But what's the point in complaining to the wrong person? It does nothing. All it does is keep poking or putting more fuel to your flames. So the same applies when you have intimacy issues coming up. Your libido's gone. You've got vaginal dryness. Just don't feel like it, and your other half's thinking, you don't listen to him because you can't remember anything he's told you. You can't remember where where you even put the car keys. You've got no idea what you're going to cook for dinner that night because your brain is still so. This is what I get a chaotic brain. Just like, what am I going to cook? And I think, I'll just do it later, and then later arrives and we've not done anything. That's why my slow cooker is an absolute godsend through the menopause. I figure out in the morning what I'm going to have, and I don't worry about it anymore during the day. And it can be a bit same old, but it's a healthy meal, and it's done and it's prepped. And the pressure it takes off me, and I think unless you're really super organized, I hope that you can sort of relate to that to some degree, because I think as mothers, it's just one of the, if somebody could say to me, this is what you're going to cook tonight, I've done the shopping for you, all you have to do is bung it in the oven, cook it for this amount of time, it would be great. Tick all the boxes that everybody's going to really like it. Yay, job done. I mean, woo, that would make life so much easier. But she went home and she had this conversation with her husband, and it made such a massive difference to him as well, because he was on board with it. He thought, he was even thinking she was having an affair with somebody else. This is what happens when you don't talk to the right person. If you've been in a room with a group of people and you've been chatting to sort of 5 or 6 friends, and you turn around and you walk out of the room, and then all of a sudden those 5 or 6 friends erupt into huge laughter, there aren't many people who aren't going to think, are they laughing at me? I do it. I'm sure most of us do it. You do. And it's the same with, if you're struggling with libido, your other half might be thinking, are they having an affair? Have they fallen in love with somebody else? Do they not like me anymore? It's really, really important that you have those conversations and you help them understand, because taking away that stress and that that avoidance, trying to avoid the whole issue, and then the resentment that will build up within you too, because if you are thinking, oh, go on then, I'd better just do it just to sort of get him off my back for a while, that's not good for you. It's doing nothing for your sense of self-esteem. You're not enjoying it. It might even be painful. And that resentment continues to build. And that can be the tiny little fissure that starts to build a crack in your relationship. So the sooner you are able to chat to your significant other half, the better, because then it just makes them part of that conversation. And just call your vagina your vagina. There's nothing ashamed. We should not be ashamed of our body parts, whatever they are. Just call them by their name, okay? Also, we are all getting older. It's all happening to us. Unfortunately, everything starts to move south, except for belly fat, which goes upwards. And the reason for that, or one of the reasons, is menopause makes us store more fat around our middles, but also because during the menopause, often our cortisol levels rise. It's one of our stress hormones. Cortisol causes us to hold on to belly fat. We then have more sugar cravings, which might make us eat either the chocolatey stuff. We're probably going to reach for the carbs, which also cause us to hold on to more fluid, but it also then sends our blood sugar out of whack. So then we release insulin to try and deal with the extra sugar in our bloods. Insulin causes us to hang on to fat. It's just this vicious circle. That's why healthy nutrition is so, so key when you're going through the menopause. And you will find that when you can get your nutrition on point, and particularly, for me personally, when I go teetotal, which I'm doing today, day 1 again for a while, because I've started a new workout program. I'm following Time Nutrition because it helps me well, it manages my blood sugar levels massively, but it also helps me get off that sort of that get out of the habit of having that evening glass of wine or two or three. So I'm doing timed nutrition as of today, and also just as a quick tip, if you want to get off the booze, don't focus on the deprivation. Focus on what you're going to have instead. Focus on the benefits. Don't give any energy to what you're not going to have. That always ends up in disaster. You've got to focus on the good stuff. So as soon as I can feel my brain pointing in that direction, I'm not even going to talk about it. I move it away. I go for the positive. I think about that lovely fresh glass of water I'm going to have later on with rose water in it. I'm going to feel about waking up tomorrow morning, so proud of myself, and having more energy tomorrow and feeling more vibrant in my skin. And so when you're doing it, whether it's alcohol or just sugar or whatever it is, whatever your weakness is as far as nutrition or drink goes, it could just be soda, pop. Get off the stuff, it's so bad for you. Replace it with something healthy, but focus on the positives. Don't give any energy to the negatives, because it's really hard to fight that battle. It does become a battle. Just put your focus and your energy where you want it to go, and I promise you it will make such a massive difference to you. It makes life so much easier. So yeah, belly fat goes up, everything else moves down. It's an inevitable part of life, but we can make a massive difference to our lifestyles. So one of the primary things is, I think, growing your honesty muscle, owning who you are, owning your values, expressing yourself in a way that isn't conflicting or aggressive or could be perceived as defensive. I always say to people, if they're going to have a talk with their significant other or their boss, always come from the I am, not you make me feel, I feel. Because as soon as you say you make me, you're accusing them of something. So if you just come from your perspective, they can't say no you don't. And make them sit and listen to it, make them honor that space. So you know, but honor yourself too. Allow them to be able to honor your side of the story as well. I think it's really important. And also, boundaries are absolutely vital, particularly when you are in this stage of life where you're feeling more anxious, you're probably not sleeping as well, you're reaching for the stuff, the sugary stuff and the carbs for the quick fix, which obviously then sets off that chain reaction of sort of blood sugars and hormones, etc., which I just mentioned earlier. But take time out for you. It's so important. I talk about this nearly every single week. It's just absolutely vital that you allow yourself those micro moments during the day where you have just a bit of time out. It doesn't need to be for an hour. It's just like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Give yourself some grace. It's such an important time of life, and it doesn't need to be this battle that we almost allow it to become. If you give yourself a bit of space and a bit of understanding and treat yourself like you would your own best friend, prioritize your sleep, even if that means getting to bed an hour and a half earlier than you normally do, just while you're getting yourself into some healthy habits. In fact, I'm running a free group starting on Monday, the 20th of January. We're going to be covering like what I refer to as the 7 pillars of health, 7 pillars of healthy living. That is your mental and emotional health. It's just trying to remember off the top of my head now, the importance of good sleep, good nutrition, good hydration, movement, connection, and breath work, which sort of, it's not just about breathing, but it's creating space for us. That is included in the breath work as well. So if you want to join those, I will leave a link to, it's a really short form. So I've got your name, and it gives you my personal Facebook URL so that you can friend request me, because otherwise I can't add you to the group unless you're friend requested. So, or that, you know, we're friends on Facebook. Or you won't see my messages. I think that's how it works. So that's what I'm doing as of Monday. So if you want to do that, it's also in my Instagram. If you go to my Linktree link in my bio, click that. That's the same form there. And it's literally all I need is your name and your email address. And it just explains a little bit about what we're going to be doing in the group in a bit more detail. That's all. But it's just so important that you allow yourself these micro moments and get your sleep prioritized. When you're sleeping properly and when you're waking up feeling as though you've had a good night's sleep, it helps support every other aspect of your life. A, you're going to feel a lot calmer. B, you're going to be making a lot more sensible choices as far as your nutrition goes. You'll be more productive. You'll be more effective. You'll look better. And I know it's not just about looks, but you know, we all like to look better. I mean, there are some mornings I look in the mirror and I just think, oh my goodness, what happened? It's just like, really? Is that bad? So just make sure, you know, sleep is absolutely the cornerstone of vibrant health, because it's sort of the linchpin that affects so many different aspects of not just menopause symptoms, but our life in general. So prioritize sleep. I have got I was sharing it in the group actually, a healthy sleeping habits ebook. If sleep is something that you really struggle with and you don't want to be in the free group, let me know. Send me a message or leave me a comment and I will get that healthy sleeping habits ebook to you. In fact, there is a link for that in my bio as well. So if you go to the Linktree link in my Instagram bio, it's there too. So you can just do it that way. And I'll get that sent over to you because it's just so important. So just bear in mind that this is a very volatile stage of our lives. It's really important to be open with those around you so that they can understand you, and that they you know, rather than getting cross because you've forgotten something, if they understand that it's brain fog and that your memory is struggling because of the menopause and that it will pass at some point, it just helps get people on board. I think the more open you can be, the more support you're going to get. If you're battling this alone, and it's just going to intensify those feelings of isolation. And I think menopause is one of those phases of our life when we can actually feel very, very isolated. And accept that these things are happening. For instance, like me, with when I can suddenly feel anxiety coming over me, and I'm not an anxious person at all. I'm really laid back normally, but I can feel it happening. And I immediately start deep breathing, because that stimulates the vagus nerve, which helps to relax us. Breath work helps to just flood our bodies with the right stuff, and it helps to get rid of the bad stuff. It helps to lower our stress levels. And I just sit with it, and I let it pass. If I've got a coffee in my hand, I stop drinking coffee. I'll go and have a pint of water, because caffeine can make our feelings of anxiety even worse. It's not about living a stress-free life. It's about dealing with stress in a way that is healthy for us, because stress is always going to be there. So it's about finding ways that we can manage stress better. And we'll also be going over that in the free group as well. So the free group actually is going to be a really good foundation of healthy living on every level. So on every aspect. And it is a 7-day free group. So I haven't created it just yet. I'm putting it together at the moment. So, but if you do want to be part of that, either like I said, get to my Linktree link in my Instagram bio, or leave me a message and I'll send you the link to the group as soon as I've got it up and running. There were a couple of books that I wanted to sort of mention that might help you as well, that I found really helpful. The one was Daniel Coleman, Emotional Intelligence. That is an awesome book. The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein, or is she Gabrielle? Gabby Bernstein, anyway. Gay Hendricks wrote a fantastic book called The Big Leap. That's another really, really good book. And Oh, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Those are all really, really good books. I'll also list these in my, in the little bit of spiel that I put when I post this onto my Instagram feed, and also into my YouTube channel, and Facebook. So however you're watching this, I'll put them either in the comments or in the blurb with the caption of this. So, and if you've got books that you recommend, please share them with me, because I am an avid reader, and it's always helpful to have a book recommendation. Hey Bridget, from somebody. Hey Coral, lovely to see you too. And Claire, hi. It's lovely to have recommendations from other people, because there are so many books out there, and what might not resonate with me but might resonate with you will resonate with a lot of other people too. So I think it's so helpful to have this sort of ever increasing list of books. I have a massive list of personal development books that I share with my coaches and my team, purely because, like I said, we all find different things important. So And personal development is just such a key aspect of our lives, whether you like listening to books or whether you like reading books, however it works. I think it's such a valuable aspect that we can all do a little bit of every single day. Just imagine if you read 5 or 10 pages of a personal development book every day. At the end of a year, how much information are you going to have taken on board? Even with brain fog, it is possible because I do it. I know it's possible. So right, that's it. That's all I've got for you guys this week. I hope that's been helpful. If you've got anything specific you'd like me to cover in a future Menopause Mondays, either send me a message or leave me a comment, and I'll make sure to add it to my ever-growing list. And hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.